This is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, and so excited to come to you guys with another incredible freedom story of a real life person who is enjoying so much freedom. And she's just so fun and real and wonderful. And I'm just really, really excited to celebrate her today. So our mission here is we're ending eating disorders using nothing but your brain. And that struggle with food comes in all different forms. And so I love when we get to really celebrate someone's individual and real story, and really excited today to celebrate the amazing Robin. Yes, Robin, so fun to see you here. So fun to have you on. I'm really excited to just dive into your real life. You've just been such a joy to coach, and it's just been amazing to see the transformation of what's happened for you. So let's start from the beginning. How did this all start happening for you? Tell us a little bit about your journey and how it all began.
So my journey actually began maybe a little bit earlier than most people. I grew up in a household where food was not easy to find. There was many nights where I would go to bed hungry. And it was tough. It was a household of abuse. It was, my biological mother was paranoid schizophrenic, and food was used for alcohol, just, get her self-medicated. So it started very young, because what would happen is she would go on a bender, and my grandmother would come pick me up, and I would literally, old Italian family, and I would literally go to her house and eat an entire lasagna at 5 years old. Yeah. Because in my mind, when was my next meal coming? And unfortunately, as I grew older and I was no longer in that household, that thought still stayed in my brain. It was always, you don't know when your next meal is coming. You better eat everything on your plate, and then you better eat more, because what if tomorrow there's no food? Yeah. So, yeah.
And Robin, we just love you so much, and I just honor where you've come from and what you've been through. And it's just one of those things where it's the worst part of the story becomes the best part of the story, when it's you've come so far and you've come through so much, and the struggle that you went through. It's so interesting to see how some of us sort of create this thought and mentality through restrictive dieting or whatever, of when is, that restriction turns into the thought of when is our next meal going to come? And we just it messes up our metabolisms and our hunger and fullness signals. And you live through the real thing of literally in a situation where you didn't know where your next meal was going to come from. So of course that feeling was there. But that doesn't make it easy. So yeah, so growing up this way, having that feeling, like you said, that persisted. Tell us a little bit about how this evolved as you got older, and how you saw things get worse, or how it was impacting your life.
So at the height of in 6th grade, I got to 230 pounds. And I was the fat girl. I was the fun fat girl, the fun poor fat girl. And then in 7th grade, when I moved to my grandmother, I was just the fat girl, because I wasn't poor anymore. And I took the fat girl as my persona, but it hurt. And as I started becoming more interested in boys, 8th grade, nobody wanted to go out with me. Nobody wanted to go to the dances with the fat girl. Everybody wanted to go with the thin girl. And I decided at that point, before my 9th grade year, I was going to do something about it. So I started exercising excessively. It went from eating an enormous amount of food to, and of course, I had been able to really restrict food because of not having it. So it went from eating a dozen donuts a day or a whole lasagna to, okay, I'm going to eat just a baked potato with some cream corn and a handful of fruit. And that's my food for the day. And that was it. But that lasted my entire 9th grade year. I didn't eat, and I dropped a significant amount of weight, but there's only so long you can maintain that. And then the binging started.
Yeah.
And then it went from eating nothing to all of a sudden binging. And then I gained the weight all back. And then I stayed that way for a few years. And then I went back to the restriction of the way of literally eating just a little bit of food, to then going back to the binging. And then as I got older in my 20s, it was more, okay, well, what diet, maybe what I'm doing is not right. And maybe I need to look at the experts in the diet industry. And it went from this really restrictive baked potato cream corn diet with fruit to, okay, now we're going to do Trim Healthy Mama, and then we're going to do keto. And there was some others along the way, but I don't remember all of them. Weight Watchers, that was another one. South Beach, that was another one. I probably did like 5 of them. I can't even remember. Those are the ones that really stand out, though. And, you know, it's unfortunate because my adoptive mother actually even brought a few of them into my life, not realizing that I had this disorder with binging. And of course, she was just trying to help, you know, especially being type 1 diabetic. You know, she was trying to help me maintain, because I was having diabetic attacks all over the place, like the starving and the binging and the insulin. And it was too much for my body to handle. So
Yeah.
it was a bad cycle.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Robin, especially like as a type 1 diabetic, and then having just like the insulin everywhere because of, the restricting and the binging, like there's so much that's hard about that. Like at that point in life, what really scared you most about what was happening?
I was waking up with diabetic attacks like nightly. The sweat and that's how a lot of diabetics die that way. People often think that most diabetics die from the high blood sugar complications, and that is true, because there's diabetics who don't take care of themselves. They don't take their insulin right. They do eat an overabundance of food. But the real killer is the low blood sugars, and people don't realize that. That's what I was like, I am going to die. I'm going to die if I don't fix this, if I don't do something to help me realize that I don't need to like starve myself and binge and be nuts all the time and thinking about food. I would schedule my food. Okay, well, for breakfast you're going to eat this, and then lunch you're going to eat this, but you can't have a snack. You can't do that because you can only have 300 calories at most for breakfast. And you can't eat any more than 400 calories for lunch. And you can't eat anything more than 400 calories for dinner. And there's no snacks. You're not allowed to have a snack. If you have a snack, you got to eat less dinner.
Yeah, I mean, with all of like the mental space this takes, right? Like, mm-hmm. Robin, what really drove you crazy the most about thinking about food all the time?
It was just the constant restriction.
Yeah.
It was I as a teacher, there's food everywhere. Like, not with the pandemic going on, but normally, like a normal day of coming into work would be like this, like without a pandemic. It would be, I'd walk into the front office, and there would be donuts or muffins, like something like that. And then I would come upstairs to the teacher's lounge upstairs to like make copies or whatever. And there would be cookies, and there would be someone's leftover birthday cake, and there would be pies, or there would be lunch set up by the faculty, for sandwiches or pizza or whatever. And the whole time, you can't. And it was just exhausting. Well, why not? Like, I mean, I do have celiac disease, so obviously eating muffins or donuts would not be a great idea. But if I really wanted to, I could lick the frosting off a donut. You know, like, I could still, you know, like, or I could have the top of the pizza.
Yeah. And like, just like, Robin, it's like constant. Like, I have to ask, like, emotionally, like waking up in the night, the diabetic attack, like the constant restriction and like all of these thoughts going through your mind all the time of all the restriction, like where emotionally was this taking you? Like what was really the hardest part emotionally of what this was doing to you?
I felt like my husband was going to leave me. I felt twofold on that. I felt if I couldn't maintain the perfect weight, my husband was going to leave me because I was fat, which is funny because weight is effortless. Like, am I allowed to talk about my weight on here? Can I do that?
You could talk about your weight, yeah.
Okay. Like, I range between 150 to 154 now without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm still weighing myself more than I should. I won't lie about that. That is still a thing. But it's not 12 times a day anymore. It's like once a day.
So many celebrations here. Like, there's so much to celebrate. But hold on 1 second, because I'm so excited to celebrate with you. But what I don't want to miss what you were saying about, like, you're afraid your husband was going to leave you. Like,
I was afraid that I was afraid that I was going to be dead and that my children wouldn't have a mother. You know, that my husband would end up, because listen, I saw some of the girls my husband dated. I don't want those women around my children. I'd have to come back as a ghost and haunt everyone to make sure these crazy women wouldn't be, I'm telling you, he dated some crazy girls. Oh no, I can't have that in my children. I need somebody stable and like possess them and be me inside their body or something. I don't know.
It's so fun, Robin. I love it. So like that was like an absolute like nope. Like, no, you're not gonna let this kill you. And for like other people to raise your children, like no way.
Oh,
yeah.
So it was these fears, and a lot of it was so profound in what I looked like and not accepting myself for who I was, you know, and it's amazing because even now, like, I mean, the body chart sometimes exists, but it's so much less. It's just you're you and just love you for you, you know. And it's this weight has been lifted off my shoulders. And you know, the funniest thing that happened actually since the program, I don't know if the diet industry like seeks you out or something, but I saved it. I got a text that said, would you like to lose 50 pounds in like blah, blah, blah amount of time? I texted back, go fuck yourself. I was
like, this is what I would like to say back to the diet industry.
Yes. Go fuck yourself. Like, no, who are you to send that kind of text to anyone? Like, that's just rude. What if I was like, I mean, I know that it wasn't just a binge eating disorder. I know that there was some anorexia involved there too. But what if I was severely anorexic and I wanted to lose 50 more pounds and I was dying? What is wrong with you? Why would you send out that kind of text?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And Robin, just like with that fire of like, I will not let this kill me. And then having this be your struggle for so long, like when you came to us to get our help, like I would love to hear, like, because everyone goes through this, right? It's like you finally find the thing that can help you. And then you're about to like embark on this journey to finally fix this problem. And there's all of this fear that comes up, right? It's just like, that's a totally normal thing. Cause it's like, you're doing something new, you're actually fixing it. So in that moment, when we invited you in and told you that we could show you how to end this, what was it inside of you that gave you the strength in that moment to say yes to your freedom, to say yes to yourself?
You know what's actually really funny is I had contacted you a year prior, but said no. And I'm a cheapskate, I'm not gonna lie. So I think that the first time around, I wasn't ready to commit because I was, in my mind, I was just starting keto that year prior.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what, keto will work. I don't need this because I can make keto work for me. I don't need it. And then after keto bombed, I was just like, I can't do this. I can't keep doing these roller coaster diets. And that was when I had saw you came up on my feed on my Facebook again. And I was like, yeah, I'm ready this time. This is it. I'm done. And like, I sat there and I was like, I sat there and I actually calculated, because I teach math. I calculated how much money I had spent on keto products. And I was like, I would have paid for this a year ago and I wouldn't even have. And then I sat there and I was like, well, let's think about Trim Healthy Mama too while we're at it. Like, that would have paid for it twice. Why am I doing this?
Robin, I just want to congratulate you for like your intelligence and your resolve and like just being in that teachable moment of like drawing that line in the sand and like sick and tired, right? Like you're just like, I'm done with this. Like I'm not gonna like let this take one more day of my life. And being at that point, it's hard what leads us up to that, right? But being at that point is just, it's such an important thing. And you bring up something so great, Robin, which is like even if we're just, of course, like there are so many more important things like your emotional health and your physical health and being alive and being able to like, just like all those things are super important. But if we're just thinking of like the cold hard, like dollars and cents, right?
Yep.
Like it is phenomenally more expensive to go for another 20, 40 years of like diet after diet after diet. It's like, you can literally be like, oh, well, this is a cheap thing. I can do this. But it's like you compound that over 40 years and it's a ton, it's a fortune. Like, just to throw this out there, like the average like first world American, about $3 million will go through their life in their entire lifetime. And an eating disorder over 40 years is usually about $1 million.
Yes, it is.
It's like, it's a third of any sort of wealth you've ever generated in your life, just going to making it worse. So it's like, I'm so proud of you for just being like, I'm done with like the stuff that doesn't work, and like really showing up for you. And so just so celebrating you in that. And yeah, let's talk about freedom.
Let's talk about the fact that I'm eating popcorn on this interview.
Yeah.
And which I dropped a couple pieces. I'm sorry. I can't leave it down on the ground. That's my OCD. I can't do that.
You can totally do that.
Well, plus my school has mice, and that would be like really bad if I brought more mice in.
True. No, I totally support you in not contributing to the mouse problem.
So before, when I'm eating my bag of popcorn. Cool. And before, when I would eat, I would eat a meal in front of my family, and I would eat in front of people, but like I would be like, like gouging, like I would eat so fast so I could not have people see me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I would hide the fact that I was eating popcorn because popcorn wasn't keto. Popcorn wasn't on the list of approved. Popcorn wasn't Trim Healthy Mama. Popcorn wasn't South Beach. Like, there's nothing wrong with popcorn. Popcorn's just food. Like, it's just food. It's corn and it grows in the ground. Like.
Robin, like just really celebrating with you that like all of the hiding you don't have to do anymore. Like, think of how much of our lives are like hiding, either like we don't want to be seen or we feel ashamed of what the consequences of our eating disorder, so we don't want to like physically be seen, or we don't want people to see us eating things that we shouldn't, right, be eating, or just like there's so much hiding. You don't have to hide anymore. Yeah.
I can remember so what I would do, like when we would have cookout at the house, which we do that a lot. Like we live in the country, so it's like people come over for cookouts and fires and things like that all the time. And I wouldn't eat anything. I wouldn't eat or touch anything. And then all of a sudden, because like any cookout, you make more than you should because you don't know what people are gonna want. And my husband would make like whatever burgers and hot dogs. And I would just sit there and I'd be like, I want a burger, but I can't have a burger. I can only have this chicken breast that's grilled with only Tony Ketchers and nothing else, because it's got less calories. And then when they would walk away and be by the fire and I would be sitting there and I'd be eating the 4 leftover cheeseburgers and the 3 hot dogs.
Yeah.
And then it would turn into me eating half a gallon of ice cream. And then
missing out on the people that were there, right? It's like they're by the fire and we're by ourselves, like binging.
yes. And then it's so funny because after all that, I realized something. I don't really even like hot dogs or hamburgers. I mean, here and there, I'll get a craving for a cheeseburger and I'll actually want one, but it's not like a food that I'm like, oh my God, I love cheeseburgers. It's kind of like, I can have a cheeseburger once a year and I'm good. You know, like it's kind of like Chinese food. Once a year, I'm good. You know, I don't ever need it again. It's so interesting because I've really discovered foods I actually like, and I would eat stuff that I like. I don't really like chocolate chips in a bag, and I would just like eat the whole bag. Like I'd be, like pouring it down, like It's not even like a big thing for me, you know. It's like now I can have bags of chocolate chips in the house and I'm fine. Or, you know, I mean, sometimes I am still having a few overeating things, but it's nothing like before. And I mean, I know people overeat because I've seen people at Christmas dinner and they're like, oh, I'm so stuffed. And they're normal eaters. And I'm like, well, like, you know what? Okay, I overate one day. What's the big deal? You know?
And there's just like such a huge difference between like, oh, I decided to eat some more and I overate versus like, I'm out of control eating an entire bag and 10 of the very things that I know are killing me. Like that's a very, very different thing rather than like, oh, that was so delicious. I had a second helping. Like, yes, I'm just so thrilled for you in that. And I love how you're pointing to this beautiful piece of freedom, Robin, of like being able to find out what you actually like. Like, oh, the thing that I was binging on, I didn't even like. Now you get to have a preference. You get to be like a person with a personality and like, I like this food and I don't like this food and this is good. And like, this is something I would like once a year. Like you get to make those decisions and like know who you are. It's so cool. Yes.
Yeah.
What else are you celebrating? Like, what else do you just love on being on this side of it?
I really love the fact that I'm having more social interaction now.
Yeah.
Because just in general, I'm a very social person, but there's less, you know, so food is actually at the forefront of activities now on purpose. And so like, because like, you know, I lead the Cub Scouts over here in my little town of Broomfield. And now it's like food is the focus so that way it's not the focus. I know it sounds weird, but go with me on this. So, so it's okay. So it's like that we'll have an activity and it's like, okay, we're going to do Dutch oven cooking and aluminum foil cooking. So it seems like food is the focus, but in reality, it's the socialization of how do you cook on an open fire? How do you use a Dutch oven? It's learning a skill as opposed to you're focusing on how to use a skill. Yeah. And then it goes into other skills that I do with the kids. It's like, how do we put up a tent for camping? You know, like it's about survival. If you're out in the wilderness, you gotta learn how to make shelter, have food, and have clean water. So those focuses are like, and before when I'd have these meetings with the kids, I would be sitting there and I'd be making myself like 4 things of aluminum foil food and I'd be sneaking it. And I'd be eating like, okay, yeah. You guys go build the tents and I'm gonna eat all this. And I'm gonna, you know, like, or, oh, well, we're gonna make 2 Dutch oven cakes. And of course in my mind, I'm not eating it, but then I would eat one by myself.
Yeah.
Now it's, well, there's only 8 of you here today. We're only gonna make 1.
You know? What a beautiful contrast of being able to like be with real human beings and be there with them and like be able to have a skill and I love just all the good you do in the world, Robin. Like so wonderful. Like I'm so happy you are alive, not just basically I love you because like you get to like influence all of these people for the good because you're not hiding because you're actually there with them and it's just such a cool thing.
I think also the thing though is that there's also a level of frustration being on the other end. So here's the frustration.
Mm-hmm.
One of my very close friends lives with me, and she has a very serious eating disorder. So she's down to like 100. She's like the same height as me. She's like 5'3". She's got kind of a similar build too. She's down to 118 pounds. She's literally eating an orange with some chicken and broccoli, and that's all she eats all day. And I'm noticing she's starting to binge. If I make an apple pie, I notice all of a sudden one day there'll be a whole apple pie there, and then it's gone. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Go get the help. I'm like, I told her about you. I'm like, this is going to give you freedom. This is going to make it so you don't do this anymore. But she's still not ready, and it's just, oh my God, like, come on, like, you see that I'm so free and that I'm happy and that I don't care about food anymore. Why? Like, so it's great being on the other side, but there's also that, oh my God, come on.
I know, and I feel that. And it's like, Robin, thank you for sharing that, because it's one of those amazing things where we have this experience, and the only way that we can have that experience is because we've gained freedom, right? It goes from like, I'm struggling and everyone else is struggling, to, yes, there's like a passion, and like you want to be able to like help someone. And of course it's got to be their time and they've got to be ready and all of that, right? And we totally, absolutely respect everyone's individual journey. But I really want to celebrate with you, like, that fire that you have in you. And the only way that you can have that is because you've experienced the freedom, right?
Yeah.
And then once you see it, then you can't unsee it. And then you start seeing it everywhere, right? And just like, this is a huge problem in our world, a huge.
Oh my God. I never noticed how many people I knew that had eating disorders until after this.
Yeah.
Like now, I didn't realize I had a lot of friends with eating disorders. I don't know if it's like birds of a feather. I don't know what the deal is, but I just, now looking at my group of friends, I'm going, oh my God. Like, one of my friends actually did go through you years. I'm not going to say who she is because that would be inappropriate.
Yeah. We'll keep it
but
all,
she went to you, I think like 2 years ago, I want to say, I don't know, ballpark. And she had told me about you, and that's when we had contacted, but I was like not ready. And she's like on the other side now, and she feels so much better. And it's just, it's seeing with us, like this whole group of my friends, I'm going, oh my God, almost all of my female friends have eating disorders or have had eating disorders.
Yeah.
And it's just so prevalent in our society, and it's sad, and it's scary that it's accepted.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that is really one of the most scary pieces of it. Because this is it's an awful way to live. It kills people. It's horrible. Like, we've been there. We know that, right? But the way that it's normalized in our society, we call it yo-yo dieting, and we call it emotional eating, and we call it being a woman, right? It's like, it's just so not okay. Like, we really do normalize having an eating disorder. And then once you really see like, oh wow, that's what was happening with me, and now I'm on the other side of it, and then you can see like, whoa, this is so incredibly prevalent. And can we just celebrate like your amazing friend that was willing to share this with you, and then like you sharing it with others? Like, this is how we change the world, right?
Yeah.
Like you sharing what you have in your experience, just like you're here doing on a freedom story. Yeah.
It's so like, and that's the other thing too, is that with each person that I encounter, that I'm going, yeah, I know what you're going through. I see you. Yeah. Hey, let me give you this email. Give it a try.
I love that. And that's just so you, to like, once you have something amazing in your life, to just influence so many others. And it's just so wonderful. And celebrating you being able to not only like be out of this cycle and, like you said, like stabilize your weight, like be able to eat food and not hide and be with people, and like, it's all just so fun, and it impacts every area of life. So
the other part too is so the other part too, and I love my husband. He's going to sound like a terrible person when I tell this story, but he's not. He tries to be helpful, but sometimes he just says the wrong thing. So the other part too is that the people around you get so used to your yo-yo dieting. And I think that should be definitely something that's discussed, because, so for example, my mom brought over donuts one day, and my kids didn't eat them all. And my mom said, well, I better take these with me so you don't eat them. Like, Mom, it's not a problem anymore. Don't worry about it. She's like, well, you can't eat it. I go, Mom, I can eat anything I want. She's like, well, you have celiac. I go, yeah, I can eat anything I want. I might not feel good after, but I can eat anything I want. And she was so adamant about, well, no, you can't eat that. You know, I'm like, Mom, it's okay. I can eat anything I want. I just have to decide if I want to eat it.
Yeah.
So you as the person who was the eating disorder, you kind of also conditioned your people around you a little bit. Because even my children did it too. Mom, you can't have all that. You can't have that burger. You can't eat that.
Yeah.
Well, no, I can eat anything I want. And like, so, an example was also, I was getting some ice cream and I think it was in week 1 or week 2 in the program. And I got some ice cream and, because ice cream was like a big taboo. So I decided I was going to have a second serving. And, I had the second serving. I sat down. He goes, you're hitting it hard tonight, aren't you? And I was like, you fucking idiot. Like, do you have any idea how big of a deal it is that, 1, I'm eating the ice cream in front of you and I'm not hiding it? And 2, I'm actually using a cup and not the container and just spoon? Like, you fucking idiot. Shut up.
But Robin, I think you make such a great point that it's like we condition the people around us and they don't know. Like they're trying to help, but we've conditioned them in the same thing that we've done to ourselves of like, tell me not to eat this, take this out of my hand, call me out if I'm doing this. And so not everyone's going to understand what it's like to be on that side of freedom. But that's what's so fun about like our community is like, you can go and be like, I ate this with a spoon at a cup, and we're like, yeah, because like we get it, right?
No, I mean, that's really a big deal because it wasn't the container.
Having a tribe that like actually understands how big these celebrations are and is on that side of freedom with you and like gets to be in that journey with you, and then all of the empathy and love for the people around us that just they don't know what it's like and they don't know what helps and doesn't help, and we've sort of taught them to say stuff that
and on his side, just in case anybody listens to this, they're like, oh my God, he's a terrible human being. The reason he said it is because he's worried I was going to have a diabetic attack and not wake up, and it wasn't anything about weight or, he was worried. So it is, but it's also the conditioning that we've done.
Yeah. And what a beautiful thing, Robin, to like have these people around you that love you and care about you and want to see you wake up and want to have you there, and that they get to have you now, like in a way that of course they didn't know how to fix this, but you got the help that you needed to end this and to be able to be alive and live and truly like live, like not just survive and like I'm still breathing, but like I'm out there and I'm with people and I'm having fun and I'm enjoying food, and it's just so cool. So love it. Anything else that you want to celebrate about like what it's like to be on this side of it?
Something my one of my friends, he has always said this, and of course I always felt very negative to it, but now I really appreciate it. And he was always right. He runs the troop with my older son. He said, there's nothing more important than breaking bread with people. And I think with the whole eating disorder part, there was always that part in my mind where, oh no, you don't eat around people. You don't, like, no, you got to eat in secret and quiet. And now you're right. It's very important to eat with your family and friends, to enjoy them and to enjoy the conversations and to enjoy the time that you can have with them, as opposed to being by yourself with your monster of food.
Wow. Robin, that's said in such a beautiful way. Like I can feel like the joy of that and the realness of that. And thank you for being you and so real and so wonderful. And to be able to enjoy the time that we have with people, like eating is such a wonderfully human thing that we have been doing together to bond and show love and show care and strengthen relationships from like the beginning of humanity. And what a beautiful thing to be able to enjoy that. And I'm so thrilled for you. Congratulations, Robin. We just love you so much and so happy for you. Yeah. So wonderful. And I mean, Robin, at this point, like, I think that it's been so fun, of course, to like celebrate you in all these different aspects, and we could go on forever because this is just like, it's just the gift that keeps on giving. But is there anything else on your heart for today that you would like to share about what it's like to have freedom, or just anything else on your heart? Or do you feel like our conversation is complete?
I feel like the breaking bread point was the height of my point. I think that I'm good.
I love that. That's so good. So good. And celebrating you, and huge congratulations. And I want you guys to know, like, you know, Robin is on her own journey. I'm on my own journey. We're all on our own journey. But what it all comes down to is, when are you going to make the decision to get free? Because you're either going to get free or you're not. There are plenty of people who live their entire lives in this struggle and they never get free from it. But if you want to be free from it, if you want to be able to break bread with the people that you love while you still have time with them, like, then we know exactly how to fix that. Like, just like Robin was saying, it's just like, everyone, like, we know how to fix it. Like, do the thing. But if you're at that place in your journey where you're sick and tired of this and you want to be free, you can start out the exact same way that Robin started. I mean, you can do one less diet like she did if you want, or not. You can also save yourself from that. But you just go to lifewithlydia.com/apply. It's lifewithlydia.com/apply. And you can book a free breakthrough session. And that is the foundation of freedom that we're going to get there, with somebody who understands the problem, who knows how to get to the other side of this. Like, that's what our team specializes in. And you're going to be super clear on next steps of how to fix this. And so just so proud of you for taking that step more than once, Robin. Like, sometimes it's the coming back to the thing. It's like doing the last thing before you really fix the problem, and then really showing up for yourself. And it's just so cool, because now you get to enjoy that freedom. Now you get to be alive and living and breaking bread, and I just love it so much. So huge congratulations, Robin. Amazing celebrating you. And this is Robin and Lydia, the lifestyle coach, signing off. Bye, guys.
Hi, this is Lydia, the lifestyle coach, and after helping hundreds of people move from food prison to food freedom using only their brains, I am confident that anyone can be free who wants. If you would like a free session with our team, you can go to lydialifestyle.com. Would love to see you there.